When I was 24, I had to fly back home from a work conference in Denver. My company booked me on the cheapest flight they could find, which meant landing at 11:45 p.m. on a Tuesday night. By the time I collected my luggage and made it outside to ground transportation, it was already past midnight. The rideshare pickup area was packed with people, and the wait time showed over an hour. I was exhausted from 3 days of meetings and just wanted to get home to my studio apartment. I walked over to the taxi line instead. There was only one cab waiting, a dark blue sedan with official city taxi markings. The driver was leaning against his car, smoking a cigarette. He looked to be in his 40s, wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans. When I approached, he flicked his cigarette away and asked where I was headed. I gave him my address, and he quoted me $40 for the ride. It seemed reasonable since my place was about 25 minutes from the airport. He opened the trunk for my suitcase, but I told him I preferred to keep it with me in the back seat. The driver shrugged and got behind the wheel, while I climbed into the back with my bag beside me. As we pulled away from the airport, he asked how my flight was. I said it was fine, just a work trip. He nodded and adjusted his rearview mirror. I noticed him glancing at me through it as we merged onto the highway. The roads were mostly empty at this hour. We cruised along steadily until he asked what kind of work I did. I told him I worked in marketing. He said that sounded interesting and asked if I traveled for work often. Then he asked if I lived alone. The question made me pause. I said I had roommates, which was a lie, but something about his tone made me uncomfortable. He said it was smart for a young woman to have roommates for safety. I pulled out my phone and pretended to check messages, hoping he would take the hint and stop talking. But a few minutes later, he asked if I had a boyfriend. I said yes, even though I had broken up with my ex 3 months earlier. The driver asked where my boyfriend was tonight. I said he was at home waiting for me. He chuckled and said it was unusual for a boyfriend to let his girlfriend travel alone so late at night. That comment really bothered me. I said my boyfriend trusted me and respected my independence. The driver laughed again and said most men were not so understanding. We were getting close to my neighborhood now. I recognized the shopping center where I bought groceries. But instead of taking the next exit like he should have, the driver stayed in the left lane and kept driving. I said, "Excuse me, you needed to get off at that last exit." He said, "Oh, sorry," he would take the next one. I watched the GPS on his dashboard, but the screen was angled away from me and I could not see the route clearly. The next exit was another 2 miles ahead. When we reached it, I said loudly that this was where he needed to turn. He took the exit, but seemed annoyed about it. As we drove through the quieter residential streets, he asked if I was sure my boyfriend was home. I said yes, absolutely. He asked what my boyfriend did for work. I made up a story about him being a personal trainer who worked late hours. The driver asked what gym my boyfriend worked at. I realized he was asking too many detailed questions. I said I was tired and wanted to rest for the remainder of the ride, but he kept talking. He said he was just making conversation to help me stay awake. He asked if I felt safe walking alone at night in my neighborhood. I said the area was very safe and well lit. He said you never know who might be watching or following someone. Young women should always be careful. Something about the way he said that made my skin crawl. I texted my sister that I was in a taxi and shared my location with her, even though I knew she was probably asleep. We stopped at a red light just a few blocks from my building. I looked up and saw the driver staring at me intensely in the rearview mirror. When I made eye contact, he did not look away. He just kept staring with this strange expression. The light turned green, but he did not move. I had to tell him the light had changed. He slowly pressed the gas and continued driving. My building was just ahead on the right side. I pointed it out and said that was my stop. He pulled up to the curb but did not turn off the engine. I handed him $40 and reached for the door handle, but nothing happened when I pulled it. The child safety locks were engaged. I said the door was not opening. He said, "Hold on just a second." Then he asked if I wanted his phone number in case I ever needed a reliable taxi driver again. I said no thank you, I usually used rideshare apps. He said those apps were not always safe, and sometimes it was better to know your driver personally. I said I really needed to get out now because my boyfriend was expecting me. The driver finally pressed a button, and I heard the lock click open. I grabbed my suitcase and got out quickly, saying, "Thank you and good night." But he rolled down his window and said he hoped to see me again soon. I hurried toward my building entrance without looking back. I heard his car pull away as I punched in the door code. Once inside my apartment, I deadbolted the door and put the chain lock on too. I felt shaky from the whole experience. The driver had not done anything overtly threatening, but his questions and behavior had made me deeply uncomfortable. I took a shower and got ready for bed, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. Just as I was about to turn off my bedroom light, I heard a soft knocking at my front door. My heart started racing. I looked at my phone and saw it was nearly 2 a.m. Who would be knocking at this hour? I crept to the front door and looked through the peephole, but the hallway light was out, and I could not see anything clearly. The knocking came again, gentle but persistent. I did not say anything or make any noise. After a few minutes, the knocking stopped. I waited by the door for another 10 minutes, but heard nothing else. I went back to my bedroom but could not fall asleep. Every small sound in the building made me jump. I kept thinking about the taxi driver and his strange questions. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I just did not feel like leaving my apartment. Around noon, my downstairs neighbor, Mrs. Kim, called me. She said a man had been asking about me earlier that morning. He claimed to be my cousin and said he was supposed to pick up some documents I had for him. Mrs. Kim thought it was odd because she had never seen him before. She described him as middle-aged with dark hair, wearing a button-down shirt. My stomach dropped. It sounded like the taxi driver. Mrs. Kim said she told him I was not home and that he should come back later. But she wanted to check with me first because something about him seemed off. I thanked her and immediately called my sister to tell her everything that had happened. She said I should file a police report, even if the man had not actually done anything illegal yet. I called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation. They said they would increase patrols in my area and that I should call 911 immediately if I saw the man again or felt threatened. That afternoon, I went to stay with my sister for a few days. When I returned home, I had a security system installed and changed my phone number. I also started using only reputable rideshare services and avoided taxis completely. The whole experience taught me to trust my instincts when something feels wrong, even if I cannot explain exactly why. I never saw that driver again, but I still think about that night sometimes. I wonder if he was really a licensed taxi driver, or if he was someone who had stolen or borrowed the car. Either way, I am grateful I made it home safely and that my neighbor was looking out for me. The experience changed how I think about personal safety, especially when traveling alone late at night. Now, I always share my location with someone I trust and pay attention to any behavior that seems unusual or inappropriate. Looking back, I realize how many red flags I ignored during that ride because I was tired and just wanted to get home. But those uncomfortable feelings were my mind telling me something was not right, and I should have listened to them sooner.